Tonight on Expressions, a musical journey leads to a long-forgotten Civil War tragedy. Follow local musician Jeff Stachyra as he leads us through the past with songs remembering the greatest maritime disaster in United States history.
This band of brothers who could take it on the chin. This was the last great march of the skeleton soldiers. Hey,
Tonight on the Sultana.
The first question people always ask when they hear about the album is, how did you find this Sultana? Of all the tragedies and steamboat disasters and Civil War stories out there, why did you fixate on this one? I don't really have a good explanation for that, other than one night in the studio, maybe it found me. I was picking up after a recording session, and the previous client had used one of my guitars. They had tuned it down considerably, and as I was putting it away, I started to explore that tuning a little bit, and what came out was a kind of a bluesy riff, had a bit of a sea shanty feel. I started to free associate some melody and lyrical content that went along with it, and those words were, "Burn down the wheel, burn down the riverboat." So I went looking for a backstory about a riverboat that had burned down, and that led me to an internet site called Riverboat Daves. It's a very extensive site, lists thousands of riverboats that operated on the waters of the U.S. during the 1800s. And most of the riverboats had burned down, and they'd list the number of casualties at maybe 3 or 5. Once in a while you might see 10. Then I get to the Sultana, and it lists 1,547 dead. So I'm thinking, oh, Riverboat Dave must have made a typo. So I went over to the Wikipedia page and found the SS Sultana as it's listed. I scanned the page and it read like a movie script. There was so many stories within the stories, and to top it off, there was more lives lost than on the Titanic. It really piqued my interest. Not only was I able to finish that song, but it started me on a 4-year journey researching the event. The result was a collection of songs inspired by the story of the Sultana.
Rather walk to Mansfield on 2 broken legs than in this southern prison, wishing I was dead. Keep in lockstep now, don't you fall behind. Homeward we shall march, set free at 4 Mile Bridge. Some came from Cahaba, aboard the Devil's Train. Derailed were those boxcars and shortened up our chain. Keep in lockstep now, don't you fall behind. Homeward we shall march, set free at 4 Mile Bridge. Across the big black river, they will treat you so, wrap you in old glory before they let you go. Keep in lockstep now, don't you fall behind. Homeward we shall march, set free at 4 Mile Bridge. that came from Georgia were dead before this gone. Roll them in on wagons, for they ain't going home. Keep in lockstep now, don't you fall behind. Homeward we shall march, set free at 4 Mile Bridge. Hold the line, keep it straight. I wanna see my mama, I wanna see my gal. If that girl is waiting, marry her I shall. Keep in lockstep now, don't you fall behind. Homeward we shall march, set free at 4 Mile Bridge. When I build myself a farmhouse on a mountain top so high, so I can be much closer to my master in the sky. Keep in lockstep now, don't you fall behind. Homeward we shall march, set free at 4 Mile Bridge. Keep in lockstep now, don't you fall behind. Homeward we shall march, set free at 4 Mile Bridge.
April 1865. The Civil War was coming to a close after 4 years of brotherly blood, after something as dividing and polarizing as internal rebirth. Things don't clean up all that quietly. The war was all but over after the surrender of General Lee. As one chapter of history was closing, another was just beginning. John Wilkes Booth shoots President Lincoln in what he considered to be the South's final act of heroic defiance. Lincoln's funeral train travels from D.C. through several states before coming to rest in Springfield. The nation's largest manhunt ensues. The fractured nation's eyes of disbelief stay riveted on the written word and wire reports. In 1865, word traveled slow, first by word of mouth, but proof was held in the print. In the process of prisoner exchange, Southern-held Union captives would be sent north. Of those from the Midwest, some would pass through a makeshift site known as Camp Fisk at 4 Mile Bridge. These unlucky souls were transported by what rail was left, but most, they were marched under Confederate escort. Some traveled several hundred miles in foul weather and in dismal physical condition, to say the least. But through it all, their spirits were kept alive with the thought of seeing their loved ones. They were going home. It was through this camp at 4 Mile Bridge that a few thousand prisoners would pass on their way to board an ill-fated steamship known as The Sultana. With a legal carrying capacity of 376, they marched over 2,200 prisoners aboard. There they would join the 100 civilians, 85 crewmen, 60 horses and mules, 100 hogsheads of sugar, 12 sisters of charity, and 1 alligator. A mascot located in the bulkhead in a crate. It might have been the repaired boilers, or maybe a crazed Southern operative with revenge on his mind. But either way, that ship, she went down.
Well, that Reuben Hatch, he's one of the villains of the story. Multiple accounts of him as a quartermaster in the military on the Union side, cooking up schemes and cooking the books and skimming off the top and taking kickbacks. And he was involved in getting a little bit of the grease on his hands by overloading the Sultana. The story has it that he was getting a kickback from the Merchants and Peoples line, and so he was guaranteeing them a healthy payload, and in turn he would get a kickback for doing that. Now, years later, when they had Captain Speed on trial to take the blame essentially for overloading the ship, they had subpoenaed Reuben Hatch, who had by then became part of the civilian life. And of course, he never showed up for the trial, and he just slipped into the darkness.
Arrested for bribes, Hatch throws the ledger book into the Ohio, but it was right back ashore. Facing court-martial, his brother petitions Lincoln, who's a financial supporter and sometimes an advisor, to intercede and proceed. So Hatch was never tried. Now the way these things go in a military way, chief quartermaster in the army never takes it on the chin. Screw up and you move up, that's just the way it's always been.
ship went down.
That old steam boiler, you'd have think it was alive. Nearly 2,000 gone, a few hundred survived. An agent, a saboteur with motive and means, a cold torpedo at Confederate jeans. Captain J.C. Mason was itching to move. Captain Speed said all aboard, and Hatchie did approve. Far from Cahaba, Camp Sumter, heading home soon. Those icy muddy waters under the devil's moon. They came as far as Vicksburg. It took a week or two. When each one was recovered, everybody knew. Souls they say together, common in their grief, that 'cause the Lord above, they thought of he a thief. So blame it on the water level, faulty repair. But Loudon from his deathbed confessed in last despair. He was an agent, a saboteur with motive and means. He used a cold torpedo at Confederate jeans. Tragedy loves company. Now the story picks up where it should have left off. They went parading into town, they was gonna get lost. And they drank a lot of whiskey, and they danced a lot of jigs. They was all held together like a bundle of twigs. When one would fall out, they would pull 'em back in. They were this band of brothers who could take it on the chin.
This was the last great march of the skeleton soldiers. Hey, you bag of bones, we'll be seeing better days ahead.
Better days, my friend.
Hey, you bag of bones, hey, you bag of bones, we'll be seeing better days ahead.
Better days are right
I'll drink
around
to
the
that and
corner.
shake your hand.
Or so they thought. drink and they danced all they could dance, and they had so much fun there before having to head home and be responsible after the war and all. Well, heck, they was in Memphis, Tennessee. Might as well make the best of the situation before the money runs out, or the drink runs out, or the night runs out. Was heading home. Tonight you could hear them singing,
Hey, you vagabonds, we'll be seeing better days ahead.
salvation,
Hey, you
salvation.
vagabonds, hey, you vagabonds, we'll be seeing better days ahead.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that and shake your hand. Hey, you vagabonds, we'll be seeing better days ahead.
Better days, better days.
Hey, you vagabonds, hey, you vagabonds, we'll be seeing better days
Honey, you need to
ahead.
lie down, I'm coming on home.
I'll drink to that and shake your hand.
So they ate together, they drank together, till the escort crew had to herd 'em back to shore. That superstructure, that wooden halt steamer, a gridiron long. Well, they made quite a picture. They was bayonets on rifles and a 7-foot Tennessee cavalryman from Company D. Well, now the story picks up where it should have left off. They went parading back on board. They was heading due north, and they's huddled all together in their temporary digs. They was all held together like a bundle of twigs, and when one would fall out, they would pull them back in. They were this band of brothers who could take it on the chin.
This was the last great march of the skeleton soldiers.
I would often just go online and type in Sultana or Sultana disaster just to see what would come up. I was often surprised. Once it took me to Ancestry.com, where there was an individual there trying to connect the dots between a composer who wrote a piece called Sultana around 1879 with one of the survivors, George H. Ross, that was on the Sultana, and he had mentioned this piece of music being housed in the Library of Congress. So no sooner did I read that, I was over at the Library of Congress, and in a matter of minutes I was downloading the sheet music for this piece. And one of my goals had always been to have this piece recorded, and to our knowledge that's the first time it's ever been recorded in history.
Pacing and speed, there was I in the neighbor. When I thought about the end of the booty on the table, could this be the end of the merchants and people's line? There wasn't enough to go around this time. Enlisted, get you 5, an officer would bring you 10. Why, thank you, Uncle Sam. Everybody knew that Hatch was a prick. He'd been busted too many times. His brother had to bail him out by going to Grantham Lincoln at least once. A brigadier general who was greedy had a weasel in Hatch, who had a weasel in Captain Speed. Is gonna make sure they made a lot of money taking one last trip going up north. The side wheels are rocking. They was hoping that they had a little luck left in them. The night would prove there was nothing in the tank. 3 trainloads of prisoners shoehorned on board. 100 tourists, 85 more, made up the crew on that fateful night. Very few would make it to see the daylight. Well, it's 2 a.m. on a chilly late April morning when a blast lit up the north sky. A sea of bodies living hell, it was hard to tell was something. Ride a dead horse, grab a hog, steal a neighbor, get a log, get a log. Take a blind man. Crated underneath the bulkhead, it met its early demise, getting stabbed by a bayonet. His crate, it was a raft, his carcass left for dead. Heard the bloody screaming from the scalding, all the crying. Those men and women, horses, children, mules, and all the crying. Burning on the icy, muddy waters of the Mississippi, April 27th, 1865. The soldiers and the spirits, they'll meet again in heaven. We never shall forget its memories, it shall survive.
Some of the things about the story of the Sultana, in my mind at least, seem to write themselves. A typical example is where the disaster occurred was a section of islands called Paddy's Hen and Chickens. And it was Islands 41, 2, and 3, but they called it Paddy's Hen and Chickens. I had obtained copies of the Lloyd's river maps from that period of time to see how they addressed the different areas up and down the river. A group of islands known as Paddy's Hen and Chickens just seemed right for a sea shanty.
farmers' fields with no headstones.
Patty's hen and chickens.
She's going down, down, down. She's going down, down, down. She's going down. Superstructure that steamer was.
Patty's hen and chickens.
But super is what super does.
Patty's hen and chickens.
Spirits lie buried on the shores.
Patty's hen and chickens.
On the site she sank to rise no more.
Patty's hen and chickens.
She's going down, 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 down. She's going down, down, down. She's going down.
She's going down. She's going down. She's going down. She's going down. She's going down. She's going down.
William Streeter played the drums in the Army, and he was also a prison guard, and he served well for the Union side. And why is William Streeter significant? Well, he's from one of the controversial aspects of the story. There's a certain group of individuals who believe in a conspiracy theory such that a Robert Loudon, who was a Southern operative, he was generally involved in clandestine operations during the Civil War. The story goes, on his deathbed, he confesses to William Streeter that he planted this coal torpedo on the Sultana. Now, the coal torpedo is basically a chunk of coal. They hollow it out, fill it with dynamite, gunpowder, whatever, seal it up, put it on the coal pile, and then when it gets shoveled into the boiler, it explodes and hopefully sinks the ship. Robert Loudon, also known as Charles Deal, ended up working with William Streeter as painters in their civilian life. They became friends, and supposedly on his deathbed he confesses to Streeter that he did this, and that started the conspiracy theory there. Most historians believe it's just a faulty boiler because of incorrect water levels and so forth, but this is part of the folklore.
Charlie Deal says he burned down the first, but by all means his worst. His cunning and bravery kept him alive. He was a grave old burner and a blockade runner. He was that mail-carrying kind. He had been sentenced to death by the old commish, but he had other things on his mind. They said the fires could be seen from Memphis, and the flames lit the skies that night. Although the war was to be over, there was one last battle to fight. He made his great escape while waiting on his fate to be granted from Lincoln for sure. So the tale read, as William Streeter said, they went south till the close of the war. He fired a dozen or less, that's what he guessed. He remarked in an offhand way, it was a ticklish job, all the life that he'd robbed, to set the boat ablaze and get away. They said the fires could be seen from Memphis, and the flames lit the skies that night. Although the war was to be over, there was one last battle to fight. They said the fires could be seen from Memphis, and the flames lit the skies that night. Although the war was to be over, there was one last battle to fight.
Sweet Hour Prayer Suite is probably one of the most ambitious tracks on the record. It involves the Madrigal Choir and a recording of an old pump organ that was built back in the 1860s. The pump organ is located in a small church on a lake in Pennsylvania. We went down there to capture the sound of the organ, but I also brought along the Madrigal Choir in my pocket by way of my iPhone. I wanted to put them in the same space as much as I possibly could. So I plugged the iPhone into a small PA system and filled the room with their voices, and then I re-recorded the choir using the natural reverb from the back of the room. I ended up using that on their vocal tracks, and it kind of blended nicely with the pump organ. Now the suite takes advantage of the dynamic range of the record. It has the loudest, most obnoxious guitar, Jimi Hendrix, Neil Young mashup volume thing going on right there at the beginning. Then it goes right down into the Madrigal Choir humming the melody, the softest part of the record. And then it builds back up again with embellishments from the pump organ. And so that piece is kind of an ambitious piece, but it was an awful lot of fun to make. And Sweet Hour of Prayer was one of the popular hymnals at the time, and it's mentioned in a couple of different books and readings, so I thought it was an appropriate track to include as the memorial tribute to them, those lost in the Sultana tragedy.